Hello, everyone. Welcome to our final post-game show of the season on the road.
On the road.
Yes. It's kind of sad, a little bittersweet, but the Packers were able to pull out their first road win of the season. It's kind of crazy that we're saying that.
That too is bittersweet because as Aaron Rodgers for them, because how Aaron Rodgers said it today is, it would have been great if they would have won one earlier than this, but it's better than, not getting off the schneid, I guess.
Yep. No, it's for them, I guess. In some ways, it's never too late. Rodgers mentioned that there's no such thing really as momentum carrying over. However, he said he thinks that him even just participating today sent a message to the team. Did you agree with the Packers' decision to start Aaron Rodgers today?
I did. And he said after the game he was glad he played. He took a beating today, and he was hit 12 times. He ran it into the end zone 3 times. He threw 55 passes, which is a lot. But so when he said he's going to play, he wasn't kidding around. Like he not only played, he put them on their back, on his back, the way that he has from time to time. He said that today was special. I've been wondering, can it be special if it means nothing? And this is the first game Aaron Rodgers has played with 0 postseason implication in a decade. It's his first since 2008 when he was the first year as a starting quarterback, because they went to 8 straight playoff appearances. Then last year he returns for the Carolina game after missing 7 straight, and that when they lose that, then they were eliminated. He shut down for the last 2. So it's been a decade since he's been in this situation. And so it's been Super Bowl or bust the entire time. So can it be special to beat a 4-11 Jets team with a rookie quarterback, a dead man walking as a head coach? Ty Bowles is getting fired immediately after the season. Can that be special? I think it's more memorable than special.
Mm-hmm. So with all of that said, Hansen has a good question. What do you say to someone who wanted a higher draft pick and maybe thinks that this game blew those chances?
I'm not going to tell you how to feel as a fan because you're the fan of this team, and from a big picture 30,000-foot perspective, I can't disagree with you. It did hurt their draft positioning. As someone who covers the league, I don't think there's a huge difference between picking 10th and 11th, and we're splitting hairs. If they say they maybe would have gone 9th and instead go 13th or 14th, there's not a huge difference there. And I just feel like, that's the type of game where if you're going to be a fan, I would think it'd be hard for you not to enjoy because it was a memorable win. The thing for Aaron Rodgers, he can always say that one time when there was no playoffs on the line, I took a beating, I threw 55 passes, I put the Packers on my back, won in overtime in the Big Apple. It's he said special. I get why he says that, but it was definitely memorable. It's one that he said he didn't want to go back 20 years from now and in hindsight wonder what could have happened if he played. Now he doesn't have to. It was a memorable game for him.
Yeah, now a lot of you asking about Aaron Jones for some reason, or whether or not he played today. If you didn't know, if you haven't been keeping up with the team, if you didn't have the chance to watch the game today, Aaron Jones is on IR, so he is not going to be playing for the rest of the season. Jamal Williams was the only running back we really saw out there today. What did you think of his performance? He had a pretty good day.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to reading Jim Ozarski's story because it's an interesting. This was the most efficient the Packers' running game has been all year, and they did it without relying on the running game because Aaron Rodgers threw 55 times and he ran a lot. So he dropped back basically 60 times, and there was just one running back. There was no depth today at all. They've had depth all season basically. Today they had no depth. And Aaron Jones is not here, but Jamal Williams, as a one-back guy, was really good. So it was just kind of weird. And Davante Adams said it best. Jamal Williams is a guy who's talented, and he knows that for a lot of teams in this league, he would be getting a lot more carries and have a bigger role. It's just that he shares a backfield with Aaron Jones, who's a really dynamic runner. So Jamal Williams showed what he can do. But I think going forward, just finding the proper roles to maximize the talent they have in the backfield is going to be a really big thing for next year.
Mm-hmm. Sally said she really likes the way the Packers played today. Let me see who just asked that question. Oh, Aaron. Aaron said that I'm assuming Jamal Williams played his heart out, but you could really apply that to Tremont as well.
Yeah.
He took a pretty nasty-looking hit on the kick return, was it?
I talked to him after the game. He's got a couple stitches in his right eyebrow. He's just a tougher dude than I am because I'm not doing that. I mean, he gets paid to do that, but not only did he return to the game after getting the stitches, I mean, just got smoked in the face by a helmet, point blank. Not only does he return, but then he fields more punts. It's like, I'm not all about that. So that was pretty impressive.
It's definitely concerning. You know, I see people like, that's tough guy, good for him, glad he's back out there. However, if there was any risk or any possibility that he has a concussion and then he gets back out there and
but they cleared him. It was funny if you know Tremont Williams. I mean, he's one of the best guys to talk to in the locker room. I on the way out today, I asked him about it. He's just like, "I'm a G, man." He was still pumped up about it. Like he was, a big smile on his face. He knows. I mean, he's 35. He's not supposed to be doing that, and he is. It's pretty impressive because he was cleared from the concussion. There's none of that concern, but it was just a cosmetic injury. He's a little worse for the wear with around the holidays, but no, it was pretty tough.
Yeah, well, as long as he's healthy, he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
Chase pointed out that the defense seemed to have a few more holes than it typically, well, at least in the past couple of games. I think at least last week, I think our expectations were a little bit lower, knowing that Kenny Clark was out. Obviously, Mike Daniels has been out. The defensive backs have been pretty unhealthy throughout the season. So I think our expectations were exceeded last week. This week, it was a little bit different.
Well, they were put in terrible positions by the special teams all day. I mean, 7 of those points was a kickoff return. Another 7 came from getting the ball inside the 15 after a special teams fumble. Rick said that Ronzo Castigo, Rick, you're not wrong. I mean, they obviously. I mean, it's going to be a lot of turnover, not just coaching staff, but even player wise. They'll have a new special teams coordinator next year, and my goodness, do they need a fresh start because that was horrendous. That was horrible special teams play. Between a depleted defense and a horrible special teams unit just across the board, I think what made Aaron Rodgers, if it was special, certainly memorable, was that he was that offense and Rodgers specifically not getting a lot of help from the special teams and defense this year. Now, turnabout's fair play, right? Because the defense has held up most of the year, despite the injuries, and the offense hasn't helped out much. Today was like the one time in a long time that that was an offensive win, and it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. So the narrative was a little bit different, same special teams narrative, but we did see a lot more production from the a lot more, but they scored over 30 points.
Season high, first time 40 this year, right?
Yeah. It's certainly remarkable, and Aaron Rodgers threw for over 400 yards, which is, I believe, the last time he did that was against San Francisco, which was the first game I ever covered.
He tied his season high to the yard.
Because
I was sure it was going to be a season high. He tied it to the yard, 442 against San Francisco. So, I mean, that was a little annoying writing because you have to write he tied it instead of it was. But yeah, sure. So 3 more feet he would have had a season high in yardage.
Not as snappy for the beat writers.
No. Had to make sure it was. I mean, that's kind of crazy though. I mean, he tied it to the T, 442 to 442.
So on top of that, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he ran 2 and 2.
Yes.
That's right. 'Cause I immediately after the game, I forgot about the Kumaro touchdown. I was like, oh, that's his first passing touchdown of the game. But no, he had one to Kumaro. What an incredible story that is. Guy that played UW Whitewater and gets his first his first NFL touchdown with the Packers. Davante Adams, we haven't mentioned him.
Oh, who's that guy?
Record, yeah, right. Who?
I don't know.
Record alert. He had 11 catches today, so he's 1 away from tying Sterling Sharp's 1993 record. He's 2 away from breaking it. He'll break it basically, and he'll do it at Lambeau Field in the finale. But yeah, that's to get his 11th, that was a big catch. So that was impressive. Yeah, and then Aaron Rodgers almost had 3 rushing touchdowns. He got into the end zone 3 times because of the 2-point conversion, but obviously in overtime he ran it into the end zone. That was called back by the holding penalty on Brian Bulaga, and then one play later they go to Davante Adams. So, yeah, it's very rare that you see him get in the end zone with his legs that many times.
Mm-hmm. Last rushing touchdown was in 2016, Aaron Rodgers.
Was it? No kidding. I did not know that.
It's been some time.
Wow.
And then going back to what you were saying about Davante Adams, he spoke in the locker room after the game, and he was saying that it makes it a little bit more special knowing that he will likely break those records when he's back at home. If you want to hear that soundbite, it's over on PackersNews.com. Don't click away from us yet, but open a new tab and go listen to the soundbite if you'd like to hear it. Do you think, is that a reason in itself for fans to want to go to the game on Sunday if there's really not a whole lot of else to see, to sort of be there for
it's hard for me
history?
To say. It's not going to be the same as if there was a division title on the line or a playoff berth, but I think it will be a special moment when, that's a record that has stood for a long time. You go 25 years to Favre's second season, I think. Excuse me. It's stood for a long time. He has an outside chance of breaking Jordy Nelson's 2014 record. Now, he's going to have a big game. How many yards did he have? Do you have the yardage for him today? It was
yes, I can tell you that right now. We've got...
It was in the 70s?
He's at 71 yards for 11.
71. So he came in needing 205 yards to break the 15-19 that Jordy Nelson had in 2014. So quick math, he's going to need about 130-some-odd yards to break that. But he can do that. That's definitely possible. So he could end up breaking both records at home. When you've got nothing else to play for, that's franchise records in 100 seasons. That's not too bad.
Mm-hmm. Kyle said he's excited to see him potentially break the record at home. So maybe Kyle will.
I think it'll be a good moment. I think it'll be a good moment.
We've been talking a lot about the draft. People have been asking about where the Packers are going to pick in the draft if the season was over tomorrow.
I didn't look at it today. They got some help and some that didn't help. The Giants losing in Indy, that did not help. That was a close game, a 1-point game. The Pats beating the Bills did not help. Obviously, had the Packers lost this game, I think they're 4-10, would have been 5-10. They would have been a half game behind the Jets, so it would have been close. This game didn't help them. It was not a good day for their draft positioning, but they're still going to be in the top half of the first round, no matter even if they win next week. So, look, they got Jair Alexander at 18 and got an extra first round pick to get him. You can find good players in the middle of the first round, and they've got with that extra first round pick, they can maneuver pretty much wherever they want. Mm-hmm. They can go up to the top 5 if they want. They can package both of those picks, so they've got a lot of flexibility. I wouldn't freak out too much about that.
And as you have said in the past, the disparity between the draft picks, sort of where the Packers will be picking regardless, is it's minimal.
It is. It's not the NBA, all right? The NBA, you get past the first 4 or 5 players, and there's a huge drop-off. And then from 6 to 12, and the lottery is at 14. It just exponentially dips to the point where if you're outside the top 15, you're looking at a much different player. That's totally different than the NFL draft. The NFL draft, primarily because there's so many different positions, teams are looking for so many different things, and there's just not a lot. There's not near the disparity from an athletic standpoint as you find in the NBA. It's just a different thing altogether.
Mm-hmm. So more draft questions. Mike wants to know: should the Packers be looking to free agency or the draft for an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman?
Yeah, they need to. To me, they can use help at both guard spots and at right tackle because, Brian Bulaga did come back today, but he's going to be 30 next year, and his injuries are just piling up and up, the knees, especially the knee injuries. But to me, they've got to really figure out right guard. I think Justin McCray – I talked to scouts last year. They told me Justin McCray is a really, really good backup, not a guy you want to start 16 games. Byron Bell is probably the same. He's obviously dealt with injuries, and who knows where his body is, going forward. So Yeah, I mean, they've got to address the offensive line. That's one of the many things they have to address. But certainly, as our Tom Silverstein wrote this week, they definitely be benefited from addressing that position.
Hi, Mary. Hello. Lots of people are showing their support for Aaron Rodgers playing today and not just sort of throwing out the game and not that Deshaun would have had no shot against the Jets, but they're happy to have
Not how they played today. They wouldn't.
They're happy to have seen Aaron Rodgers play. Would you expect to see him play again next week?
He said so. I asked him after the game, and he said that he will be playing next week. There's no reason he said that he wouldn't play next week. You know, it's easy to say now that it was an obvious choice to play him. I mean, if he goes down with an injury today, and he took an absolute beating. I mean, the first thing I saw when I walked in the locker room today was Aaron Rodgers walking on his way to the back showers, stopping, bending down, and checking out his right knee. Now it's different than the left knee, but still, like he was limping. He took shot after shot today. That can't be good to see. He's big picture. It doesn't seem he's any worse for the wear. But in a meaningless game like that, I mean, if it's a significant injury, the tone will change very quickly. It's just that they got to, like I wrote, there's a fine line between toughness and lunacy. Sure seems that Aaron Rodgers is able to show the former without leaving New York with the latter.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a few more questions, you guys, before we wrap things up here. I hate to keep beating on some of the negatives here, but special teams, a problem.
Terrible.
For sure. Jamon Moore, his fumble was also a problem. I saw him in the locker room after the game, sitting at his stall, sort of with his back towards everyone.
Did you talk to him?
I didn't,
No.
but he looked. I mean, his body language.
Yeah.
I saw, but
It's been a rough rookie season for him.
I bring that up all to say I saw Ron Zook go up to him and sit with him at his stall and talk to him for a little bit. So you'd imagine he's trying to sort of.
Well, look, there's a reason Trevor Davis has a lot of value, and that's because it's hard to find special teams guys. They had a guy in Micah Hyde a few years ago who was much more than a special teams guy, but he was trusted to return kickoffs, and they handled that transition from Micah Hyde to Trevor Davis quite well. Trevor Davis is the return specialist. His hamstring has been bad all year, has been on IR twice, and is now on IR because of that. But there's a reason why a guy like Trevor Davis has value, and that's because it's hard to find a guy who can do what he does, has 4.3 speed, he's trusted with the football, doesn't fumble. Those guys are just rare. So, I mean, Packers fans love to point out that Trevor Davis hasn't done much as a receiver, and they're right, and yet he still has value because of the special teams.
Mm-hmm. Equinemius St. Brown, I think
big day for him.
Yeah, big day receiving-wise, but also returned his first kick, kneeled for a touchback. So who knows what his future might hold.
Was getting evaluated for the concussion as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh, everyone's getting evaluated for
concussion.
concussion.
Boy, there's a lot of penalties today, first of all, especially the Jets. I know that New York feels like a lot of them were not justified. To me, it was just – and the Packers have done this too. I mean, it's not just the Jets. Packers have done this. Other opponents of the Packers have done this. I mean, at some point, like guys in this league have to realize that you don't go for the big hit anymore. Like that used to be how the game was played. It used to be instinctual. It was just part of playing defensive back, especially. You blow up a guy, you don't do it anymore. And at some point, these guys are going to learn that, because if they keep doing it, they're going to keep getting penalized. That's a flag now. It's going to be I mean, there was a textbook. The one on St. Brown was a textbook defenseless hit, where 10 years ago, that's football. That's how you play the game. Now, it's not how you play the game. So at some point, these guys have got to learn that's no longer part of football.
Mm-hmm. Times are changing in the NFL. Times are also going to be changing for the Packers. Lots of questions about the head coaching search. I believe Mike asked whether or not the Packers had likely already started to reach out to potential candidates for head coach.
That's a good question. They're limited on what they can do with the tampering rules. So if they're looking for a guy in the league right now, they can't. If they're looking for a guy in the playoffs, they can't. If they're looking for a college guy, there's some things that they can certainly do in the college realm, and they might be. But I think you're really, after the season especially, you're really going to see that get cranked up to high gear. I think right now this month is more just laying the groundwork. and doing the research, doing the homework before getting into the interview rounds.
Mm-hmm. Seeing a lot of comments about Ron Zook needing to find his own transportation back to Green Bay. His job is on the line, but that being said, all of the coaches' jobs are on the line. So,
the new coach is going to want to hire his own guys. So, don't waste a lot of time freaking out about Ron Zook being special teams coordinator. He won't be next year.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you sticking around and chatting. We'll be back next week, of course, to talk to you guys before and after the Lions game. But this is our last time on the road. So thank you guys so much for hanging around. It was great chatting. We will see you next time.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Merry Christmas. Or just
happy holidays. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Whatever you're doing.
Because it's not going to be the new.
Yeah.
My dates are all messed
up. No, it's
up.
not going to. No, we're going to see you before the new year ends.
Yes.
So, yes, we'll wish you a happy new year then. Yes. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.